Welcome to week 2 of our Shabbat project course. And this week, I'm delighted that I've got my very good friend and colleague. I think I can call you a friend by now, right? Rabbi Aaron Litwin, those in Manchester are blessed to have him regularly. But this is a treat for us. And he is going to take us through. Last week, we covered a lot of the different kitchen appliances. And this week, Rabbi Aaron and myself are going to focus on some more of the things that come up regularly in the kitchen. So Rabbi Aaron.
Okay, so let's do this. So first of all, I want to give a concept. Whenever I try to share halakha, understanding Jewish law, how things go in the kitchen, I actually like to empower people to be the rabbi, in inverted commas. You know, there's one way of teaching people like this you can do, this you can't do. I actually like to express the concept, how and why things work, and then you can actually understand the application of the rules, so to speak. So I'll start with a teeny introduction. You know, what's the common denominator between everything that we're allowed to do or not allowed to do on Shabbat? And the answer is very simple. The answer is Shabbat is about not doing creative activity. You're not allowed to create things. You're not allowed to make things. It's not necessarily about work, because you're allowed to engage in intense labor. You could carry chairs, which could be very heavy, and it could make you sweat, and it could be difficult. Shabbat is about not creating. And the idea is actually to remember that Hashem He created the world for 6 days, but then on the 7th day, he stopped creating. We have to remember to stop and just to be present on Shabbat and actually enjoy the moment, enjoy the family time. So I'm going to share with you a concept, and for some of you, it may be a brand new concept, but hear it out, and we'll try and make things as simple and clear as possible. We're going to talk about sorting. Now, the Hebrew word for this is borer, to choose, to sort. And the idea of what we're going to say tonight is that if you have a mixture of something, or something stuck together, a mixture, on Shabbat, you cannot separate them, because when you're separating them, you're, so to speak, fixing them. You're creating two entities. Till now, there was a mixture. And when you go and separate them, you've now fixed them into organized different entities. And let me get right in with an example, okay? I'm going to lower my screen here, and I'm going to show you a delicious bowl of jellies, which I don't always keep on.
You get to share them, Rabbi Aaron, afterwards.
Yeah, listen, yeah. I don't know if everyone can see this fully.
Wow, the Litwin family are going to have a fun Shabbat, bouncing off the walls after eating.
Yeah,
those.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. I don't always have this on my desk. But now here's the thing. Everyone in our family, everyone absolutely hates, go on, guess which color? The green ones. Sharon, what were you going to say? Okay, I'm going with the green ones. Now, this is a mixture of sweets. If I want to remove the green ones, then I am sorting the mixture. I cannot sort on Shabbat. So here's the deal. If I'm not sorting, I'm just eating at random, whichever one I want, that's permitted. Now, there's 3 rules that define the act to be one of eating and not sorting. And it's very simple. It's as simple as remembering your ABC. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? We stop at G. So G. The first rule is G. You have to take the good from the bad. So if I hate the green ones, I can't take all the green ones out. That's not allowed to remove the green ones. This would be not permitted, because that's an act of sorting. But if I instead choose to take the red ones, right, and exactly, good from bad. Thank you, Rabbi Dov, for making that clear. So that's the G. The G is good from bad. I'm taking all the red ones, which are my favorite. That's the first rule. The second is A, B, C, D, F, G. What comes next again? H, right? H. So after G comes H. Oh, gosh, I didn't, right? H is it has to be done with your hand. Your hand or a regular eating utensil, such as a spoon, because a spoon is really just an extension of our hand. When I say it shouldn't be anything other than your hand, I just mean you shouldn't use a specialized tool for sorting. For example, a peeler. A peeler is a specialized tool for peeling the bad from the good, right? I'm not very good at this, but a peeler is a specialized tool. So the second rule is, don't use a specialized tool, use your hand or your cutlery, which is an extension of your hand, and then it's an act of eating rather than an act of sorting. The final rule is, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, is I. Immediate use. It's got to be, Rabbi Dov, you typing? It's got to be for immediate use. Because if you're sorting, let's say you're in a factory and you're sorting things out, right? It's an act of sorting. You could do it for the future. But when you're eating, it's for right now. So as long as you do GHI, if you take the good from the bad, the red ones, not the green ones, you take the good from the bad. It's done by hand, H, by hand, and it's I for immediate use, you're good to go. So now I've explained you the concept. The concept is, organizing a mixture on Shabbat is not permitted because you are creating fixed entities. You cannot create on Shabbat. However, eating is permitted on Shabbat. Very important on Shabbat, definitely in our house, right? And therefore, if you do it with good from bad, which is the normal way to eat, if you do it with your hand and it's for immediate use, you're good to go. Now, you know what? Before we move on, we're going to put you on the spot here, okay? I'm going to put whoever wants, but if no one offers, it's going to be Lee on the spot here. And I'm going to give you some examples, and you tell me what you're supposed to do, okay? So, how's this one? Let's say there are a big fruit bowl, or a bowl of nuts, and it's a mixed nut bowl, and you've got in there cashews, pecans, peanuts. Now, I don't know about everyone else, but for me, I never want the peanuts. They're just a filler. They're cheap nuts just to fill the packet, right? What am I allowed to do on Shabbat with this mixture of nuts?
Yeah, you can sort them with a spoon.
Who's that? Sorry, I can't see.
Larry,
Larry, go on. So what can I do?
so if you were to take the good ones that you did want with a spoon, then you can eat them immediately.
You got it. Amazing. Now,
Good.
I'm
proud of you, Larry. That's one Londoner.
Or suck it up and eat them all. It doesn't matter what you get.
all right. Okay, Lee. That's good. Now, I want to share with you, right, another example. Here's another example, very relevant. Let's say you finish your Friday night meal and you wash up all the cutlery and you just chuck it on the side in a big mishmash. So you got your knives, your forks, moving off food here. You've got a whole mishmash, spoons, a whole mishmash, and you want to lay the table Shabbat morning, but there's a massive mixture of cutlery. What do you do now? Does anyone want to give that a bash?
Surely there's nothing's bad per se.
Well,
and unless you don't want to use, I suppose, unless you don't want to use it. So if there's a utensil you don't want to use, then that would be seen as bad, surely.
Good, but let me ask you this. When I lay the table, I don't know about you, when I lay the table, I like to do first the knives. I'm a bit OCD. I don't know if you've seen that side of me. I like to do the knives, then the forks. It actually bothers me. I've got a whole mishmash of cutlery. I want to first organize the knives, then I want to do the forks, then the spoons. Can I sort out the cutlery to lay the table?
In your eyes, then yes, because you're saying one is better than another.
Good. So let's speak this out. If I'm going to be taking good from bad, and I'm going to be doing it by hand for immediate use, I can. If I wanted to just put the cutlery back in the drawer and I wasn't laying the table now, can't do that because it's sorting for later. But if it's sorting for now, then it's absolutely fine. Okay, now.
But then is laying the table seen as immediate use?
Good question. So there's a great rabbi called Rabbi Moshe Feinstein who discusses this, and he asks, what is immediate use? And he gives a rough ballpark of half an hour, but he says it's extendable. He says it's in the normal time frame you would lay your table for the meal. But that's a very deep question, which we studied in Kollel.
Would I be right, Rabbi Aaron, would I be right in saying that if someone's cutlery is a mess and they want to sort it all out, then they should do it, let's say they're going to go to shul, rather than do it before shul, which means there's going to be something else in between, they should wait till after shul, just before the meal, that's when they should do it.
Yeah, so Rabbi Birnbaum, who's very knowledgeable, knows that exact chapter that talks about this, which I was quoting from Rabbi Feinstein, actually gives the example that he said that it really should be immediate use for you. Like he said, if you're going to go to shul, don't do it before shul. You should do it after shul because that's immediate to the meal rather than doing it before shul. Well said. Thank you for adding that in, Rabbi Bambam. Now, there's two more. There's two more exceptions to the rule. The first one is if you want to eat a tangerine, right? How are you supposed to eat the tangerine? So you've got here a mixture, or if you want something stuck together, you've got the peel and then you've got the orange inside. How do you get to eat the orange inside? Surely you're going to have to take the peel away from the food, right? And the answer is that's okay, because that's the normal way to eat it. So the first exception is peeling the food, shelling an egg, or peeling the skin off a chicken is permitted because that's the normal way to do it. The other anomaly is this one, right? My mum always told me to carry the soup bowl with two hands, and I shall show it to you in just a moment. Here is my chicken soup, okay? It's a very appetizing chicken soup. The problem is there's a fly in my soup, okay? So any suggestions what I'm supposed to do? I can see Hedda and some others looking a little bit mortified. This isn't Shabbat soup. To be honest, I have to confess, this isn't really chicken soup. It's actually water that I mixed with vinegar to get the right color. So I won't be eating it tonight. But let's pretend it's chicken soup with a fly in. And to be honest, it looks like more than a fly, right? So any suggestions what I'm supposed to do? How can I eat my chicken soup? Now, I imagine some of the guys here are going to tell me, yeah, eat the good from the bad, but most of us don't want to be eating chicken soup with a fly in it till the fly is left at the end. So there's an amazing idea the rabbis tell us. The rabbis tell us that what you're not allowed to do is to separate a mixture. When you have a mixture, you can't separate it. But here's the catch, right? If I would do this with a fork and I would take the fly out the soup, I've separated the fly from the soup. That's a no-no. I can't separate the bad from the good. This is what I do. I take a spoon and I remove some soup together with the fly. Now what I've done actually here is I'm not separating the fly from the soup. The fly's still in the soup. I've taken the entire mixture and I'm going to move it to the sink or the bathroom, whichever one is better. So this is an amazing trump card, right? If you can remove the entire mixture, you're good to go.
Can I just ask you quickly, was
Please.
that not the whole soup unkosher?
That's a very good question, and I love how you're, when you're a rabbi, the ultimate compliment is when you can compare and bring different concepts into other concepts. My head's in the Shabbat head, and you're brought in the kosher class. I think Rabbi Dov, we should be doing a 3-part kosher series next. Thanks to Hedda. I'm sure she'll put that for them in their entirety.
Hedda, can I just say, Hedda would be top of the class. Okay,
here we go.
Great question.
I stop harassing with Rabbi. I'm so sorry.
No, it's good. So the answer to your question is it's a good question, and possibly if it was boiled and we know that for definite it had become cooked together and there wasn't 60 times that amount of the fly in the soup, it would. But generally speaking, if you can remove the whole fly from the soup and your soup was lukewarm and the 60 times, you're good to go. But it's a very valid question. If there is a fly in your soup this Friday night, you can remove it with a spoon and get on. If you still want to eat it, which I definitely would, but I'm easygoing in that way. So we now have the final thing I want to say is, which is very important. So let me do a teeny recap and we'll finish with one final concept. So we've said you cannot separate a mixture on Shabbat. Separating is not allowed. However, you can eat. If you do the G, the good from the bad, H, with your hand, I for immediate use, those 3 conditions will transform the act into an act of eating, which is allowed. You can also remove the entire mixture, as we've said. Now, I've told you that you cannot use a peeler on Shabbat because you won't be doing it by hand. You'll be doing it with a specialized tool for taking the bad off the good. You can peel though on Shabbat if you need to, using a very, very specialized piece of equipment called a knife. Oh, sorry, it's dirty from some peeling. So you can use a knife because that's an extension of your hand to peel your carrot, but obviously be careful, right? Taking a little bit of good from the bad, as long as you do it for immediate use, which would be okay, because then it's an act of eating. Even though I'm removing the good from the bad, it's okay, like the orange case, because I'm peeling. I hope that didn't sound too complicated, so let me just say it very simply. You can peel your carrots on Shabbat with a knife, or your cucumbers, or your apples, or whatever, provided it's done for immediate use. So, a teeny...
Sorry.
Go on, come in. I'm scared
allowed...
of your questions, so, okay, fine, well, we'll take this one.
Sorry, are you allowed to grate tomatoes to make a sauce? Because you're basically taking the good from the tomato.
So it's a really good 1 second. No, because I thought you were asking something that Rabbi Birnbaum's going to cover in a minute. One more time, what's your question?
Grating tomatoes to make a tomato sauce.
Puree.
I chop a tomato in half and I grate it, and then we only eat the inside. So basically the peel is discarded. That's the bad. So I'm only using the good, and it's for immediate use.
So tell me what you think. Tell me what you think. No, there's two elements to that question. One is cutting things very small, which Rabbi Birnbaum is going to speak about. But from what we've learned about salting, what would you say if you were the rabbi?
I would say yes, because I'm using the good from the bad.
You would say yes, because you're taking the good from the bad. And that would be the answer. And that would be the correct answer. You can cut open a tomato the same way you can peel an orange, to take away, because that's the normal way to do it. You can open up a tomato and take the good from the inside, provided you're using the good and not the bad. You're 100% right, Rabbi Hedda. Now, Rob Bradstock, I
just want to make sure I can have my jachnon, you know?
Right, important. Now I can see that family Bradstock are not very happy that I'm nullifying their peeler for Shabbat use. So just to clarify, the second they're asking, why is a peeler not an extension of my hand the same way a knife is? It's a very good question. And the answer is a peeler, what is a peeler? A peeler is a tool that's designed to separate bad from good. That's what it's meant for. It's a tool. So you cannot consider this to be your hand. The knife is just a tool that I can carve in any way I wish to. And that's why it's like it's my hand. A peeler is a designated tool. If you ask someone around, what's a peeler for? They'll say, it's there to take bad from good, to peel vegetables or fruits. A knife, what's a knife for? A knife is not there to sort or to organize. It's there to chop in any way you wish. And therefore, it's considered an extension of your hand, but another deep question. So a teeny recap, 30-second recap, and I'll hand over to Rabbi Birnbaum for the next part, because I've hit my 20-minute slot and I don't like going over. So, you're not allowed to sort. Sorting is organizing a mixture or the like. You cannot sort things on Shabbat. However, if you do G, good from bad, H, hand, and not a specialized utensil like a peeler, that's for you, Rob, and I, immediate use, it's considered an act of eating, not sorting, which is allowed. Then we said peeling a fruit is allowed even though it's bad from good because it's the normal way. And we said you can peel a carrot with a knife immediately. And finally, the final thing is the fly from the soup, my favorite case, you can remove the entire mixture. Over to you, Rabbi Birnbaum.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So you mean I don't need to bother waking up very early before shul, peeling all of the vegetables and preparing the all the food anymore, sorting and laying the table? I can have a lie-in.
Yeah, well, Hashem wants you to have a lie-in. You sort of have lie-in.
I'm going to tell my wife to phone you. She can deal with you. Lovely.
Encouraging you to lie in. It's a mitzvah to sleep on Shabbos, Rabbi Birnbaum. You know that.
Lovely, brilliant. Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to continue our travels around the Shabbat kitchen with squeezing. So I don't know if there are any of you really like some fresh juice. You know, there are people who they're not satisfied with buying the juice in the shops. You've got to make it yourself. You know, then it's the real thing. So you take your oranges. I have to confess, not having a juicer or anything to hand, but you take your orange. Imagine this is a cup. I don't know why I'm doing it into a plate, but you take it and you squeeze your orange, and that's how you get your juice, right? And you do that with enough oranges with a proper squeezer. if that's the right word for it. Juicer maybe. And then you get your freshly squeezed orange juice or lemon juice or that sort of thing. Am I allowed to do that on Shabbat morning? Am I allowed to do that on Shabbat? So the answer is that squeezing, in fact, essentially what I'm doing, just following on from what Rabbi Aaron said, that the problem is on Shabbat of creating something new. Anything that shows our mastery over God's creation is a problem. And therefore, essentially, I'm taking my orange. Now, right now, my orange is a solid. I can't drink this as it is now, right? Can't drink that. What I need to do is to bite it. I need to eat it, a solid. When I take it and I squeeze it, what I'm doing is I'm creating a liquid. I'm creating a liquid. Now, obviously, that liquid is not creating something brand new. That's what God does. But what we do as people, nevertheless, we extract. So therefore, I'm extracting the juice, which is right now contained within a solid. And doing that is a problem on Shabbat. So I'm not allowed to make freshly squeezed juice. Make sure you go out to the shop before Shabbat and buy yourself. You can buy 100% freshly squeezed juice, or you can make it yourself before Shabbat. Put it in a bottle, and then you'll have it for Shabbat. What happens if I want to squeeze onto some food? If you have a schnitzel or a piece of fish, that sort of thing, you want to squeeze your lemon juice onto it, would that be okay? So in that case, if you think about it, there I'm not making juice. I don't want to drink the lemon juice, right? In that case, I want my schnitzel to taste a bit better. I want my fish to taste a bit better. We'll go a bit further. What about onto a salad? The same thing. If I want to squeeze a lemon onto a salad, again, I don't want to drink lemon juice. That's not what I'm interested in making. Rather, what I'm doing is I'm making my food taste better. So because I'm not creating a juice, so therefore, in that case, that would be okay. So the main thing to look out for is not squeezing things in order to make a juice, but as long as you're doing it just in order to make a food taste better, you're squeezing onto a food in order that the food should taste better, then that would be okay. Any questions so far?
I'm assuming then that putting a piece of lemon in something would also be okay, even though the juice gets extracted to some degree.
Good question. Thank you, Nikki. Good point. So squeezing a lemon or something else into a drink is a problem because the juice there, essentially, I want it to be part of my drink, and I'm adding, however small it is, I'm adding a small amount of a drink to the drink that I already have. So that's a problem. But if all I'm doing is putting a lemon inside, you know, sometimes I don't know about you, hot Ribena. Oh, hot Ribena is one of my Shabbos treats on a Friday night, you know, the long Friday nights. So you put a slice of lemon into your Ribena or into your tea, that's absolutely fine. And even if you stir it a little bit, that's absolutely fine. And even if some of the juice comes out, it's a tiny, tiny bit. And again, that's not what you intend it for. So then that's okay. But to take it and to squeeze your lemon into the drink, then that would be a problem. It's only squeezing lemons into food that is okay. Yep. Okay, brilliant. We're now going to try and do something that I haven't done for a long, long time. Okay, you'll see what I mean. We're not allowed. Thank you, Aaron, for the recipe. It's about as complicated as it gets for me in the kitchen. The next thing that we're going to talk about is kneading. Kneading, okay? In Hebrew, it's called lash or lisha. Now, you might say to me, 1 minute, Rabbi, look, one thing we know about Shabbat is we don't make the challah on Shabbat, right? Rebbetzin Dove is coming to join us soon, okay? She's never done a challah make on Shabbat, although it would be very successful, I have to say. It'd be a fantastic idea. Can you imagine, Rabbi Aaron, I think we've got an idea here. If we could find a way to allow her to do a challah make on Shabbat, I think it would be fantastically well attended.
On Zoom, it would be.
On Zoom as well. If we could find a way to do that, oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. But at the moment, kneading is definitely something, and making challah, the whole process of making challah is definitely something that we've got to do before Shabbat comes in. Nobody is going to take flour and water, start mixing them in their kitchen on Shabbat in order to make a dough. Okay, now the reason that you wouldn't do that is because that is one of the things we're not allowed to do on Shabbat. And again, if you think about it conceptually, we're creating a new entity because you take those little bits of solid, which are the flour, you add the water to them, and then what happens is they bind together, they become dough. They become a brand new thing, which is a mixture of those two things. And it's actually, they're bound together. Dough is bound together really solidly. You can't even see the flour and the water anymore in it at all. So therefore, doing that on Shabbat is forbidden. That is a prohibition. Lee, you have a question?
Yeah. How's that any different, say, than making your hot Ribena, where you're using cordial and you're mixing it with another substance, or a cup of tea, for instance?
Okay, great question. So the answer is that when I'm taking two liquids, like in the case of the Ribena, all I'm doing is I'm adding one liquid to another. So although they mix, I'm not creating a new entity. I had liquid before and I have liquid at the end, just really adding it. Slightly different color, that sort of thing, but I'm not doing anything significant to change it. Whereas here, I took my flour, which was a solid, lots of little particles, took my water, suddenly you get something which is completely different consistency, combined the two, wherever the particles gone, they've completely gone, they're all sort of bound up, combined together.
And therefore tea or coffee, which isn't, that element's not a liquid.
So again, so the tea and the coffee, I'm not making, firstly the tea leaves sort of stay in the bag. Yeah, I'm not doing anything at all to the tea. And the coffee itself, because the coffee is completely dissolved, so therefore again, it doesn't become like a thicker mixture. It's not like you get this thick dough-like mixture, but rather it all just becomes a solid, all just becomes a liquid, sorry. So therefore again, it's not a new entity, it's just a liquid like I had before. Now, where this is relevant, because seeing as we're not making our challah dough usually on a Shabbat, however, it is relevant with other things that we do mix, solids and liquids that we do mix. So I'll give you one example, and that is these guys. Can everyone see that? Eggs. So if you think about it, when we take eggs and we mix them with either mayonnaise or with oil, hang on 1 minute. I'm going to try to do, let's see if I can manage to do this. But I'm going to try and actually show you how to eggs. And you take these eggs, and I think this is the way that you do it. You mash up the eggs, right? I'm going to try one egg because that's about how I'll get through. Rebbitt Dove, are you with us?
I think so.
Right, you're watching me make the eggs and the onion. You see, now I can make egg, you see?
I'm very impressed. Did you boil it as well, Rabbi Boom Boom?
I'm not answering that question. That's unfair. Now, this is my oil, okay? It could be mayonnaise, it could be oil, but essentially what I'm doing is I'm using this to bind it together, okay? That's essentially what I'm doing, right? I take my oil and I want to make my eggs into a sort of mixture which we're going to be able to eat together, and it tastes nicer and it's all one entity instead of it being all little lumps like it is now. So essentially what I'm doing there is a form of kneading. I'm not making a dough, but it's the same type of thing. It's called lush. And it's the same thing with tuna and mayonnaise as well. The same sort of thing with baby cereals as well. The same type of thing with Weetabix too, when you mix your milk and your Weetabix, and then it binds together to make this sort of mush. So with all of these things, I can do them on Shabbat as long as I follow the following instructions, okay? A key concept here is what's called Shinnui, doing things in a very different way. In this case, not in all cases. So in this case, if I do it in a very different way, then it is permitted. Okay, if I do it in a significantly different way, seeing as these things are not the sort of typical case of kneading, they're not like the dough that I'm making with my flour and my water, but rather they're very similar to kneading. As long as I do them in a different way, then it's okay. So what am I going to do? The first thing that I would do to do it in a different way is usually you have the eggs and then you would add your oil. That's usually what you do, or your mayonnaise or whatever it is that you're using to bind it together, okay? On Shabbat, reverse the order, okay? On Shabbat, reverse the order. So therefore, what you would do on Shabbat, we just realized I don't have another plate, so they're going to taste of oranges. But either way, you pour the oil on first, okay? Pour the oil on first, and then after you've poured the oil on, then you put your egg on top, okay? Then you put your egg on top. You try and make sure you don't get it on your computer whilst you're doing it, okay? Once you put your egg on top of your oil, so you've reversed the order. And by the way, if you do it the other way around, if you usually put your oil or your mayonnaise on first, then on Shabbat, just reverse the order. Whichever one you usually do, you should reverse it. Then the second thing to do is the way that you mix it. So usually you'd mix it with a spoon. You just go round and round with a spoon. That's the way you normally mix things. On Shabbat, do a crisscross. So go criss and cross, or alternatively, you can actually take a finger, don't tell anyone, and take a finger and you can stir it with your finger. Okay, so you do it in a different way. You mix it in a different way than you would do during the week. And then in that case, because you've changed two things, firstly, the order in which you add your ingredients, and secondly, you've mixed it with a crisscross or you've mixed it using your finger, then in that case, that would be permitted. So whenever you come to a mixture where you're concerned that it's binding, if it's before Shabbat, you ask one of the rabbis. You ask me on the Halacha hotline, Rabbi Litwin, and you say, is this a problem of binding it before Shabbat, because a lot of things are not. For example, a potato salad where you've got a little bit of mayonnaise and you've got big pieces, that's no problem at all. We're talking about specifically things where there's very, very small pieces that get bound together into a sort of you know, almost dough-like type of mixture. Those are the things which are a problem. If you come across one of those on Shabbat, then the way you do it is you do it in a different way. You reverse the order and you also mix it in a different way.
It's very
Any questions on that?
The back is much nicer to look around than
Hang on a second. There we go. Any questions? Not satisfied with this. Who has egg and oil? It's a good question. I actually don't like mayonnaise, by the way. I don't like mayonnaise. Okay, last one before I can introduce Rebbetzin Dav, who's going to give us the lowdown on challah and hamotzi, which is very exciting. She's joined us all the way from another talk, which I believe she has to get back to as well. So, one second, I've given the game away. The next thing is grinding. Grinding. We're not allowed to grind things on Shabbat. Now, you might say, who does any grinding in the kitchen nowadays? So Rabbi Litwin tells me it's actually come back in fashion. The pestle and mortar, yes? So apparently, yeah, you know, you can grind things up literally by hand, pestle and mortar, the old-fashioned style, doing that. You can't do that on Shabbat, that's a problem. And the other thing which is very common are these type of things. So you have your salt and pepper in one of these grinders, you grind it like that, it goes all over your keyboard, very nice.
You've got sort of a grinder at home, come on.
What?
Hands up who's got one of those grinders.
One of these at home. There you go. There you go. So,
your mother-in-law has one.
I have to confess, I didn't know we had one at home until I asked her, and she said, "Oh, we've got one." So we've got these things. You can't use these on Shabbat. You can't use them on Shabbat because that is grinding. And again, I'm taking a solid, in this case, the peppercorns, and by grinding it up, I'm making a sort of new entity out of it, what seems to be at least a new entity because it's very, very small, tiny pieces, and therefore I'm not allowed to do that on Shabbat. If you do have one of these, you want to grate them before Shabbat, grind them before Shabbat, absolutely fine, keep them sealed, and then you can use them on Shabbat, or you just buy a pepper, which you don't grind for Shabbat use. The other thing, which actually resembles grinding, is something that Hedda brought up before, and that is using a grater. So a cheese grater or a grater which you're using for anything, like for vegetables or that sort of thing, although you're not actually grinding, but it resembles grinding. And therefore, because what you're doing is, again, you're taking something which is a large piece, you're grinding it up into very, very small pieces. That's what the cheese grater is intended to do, to make very, very small pieces out of it. And therefore, you shouldn't use one of those on Shabbat. You should not use one of those because it's similar, it resembles grinding. Any questions before I hand over to Rebbetzin Dav? Yeah.
So am I allowed to grate the tomatoes for my jachnun or not? I don't understand.
You can't use the grater to grate your tomatoes.
So
Rabbi Aaron was very kind.
How did the Yemenites do it then?
How do the Yemenites do it?
Before Shabbos.
The Yemenite Jews, it was their chulent, you know. They
Everything was prepared before Shabbos.
Well, one second. There's two things here. Firstly, the Yemenites, for Sephardim could be lenient on this and use a grater. Okay, I'll check that. So I assume that the Yemenites, Yemenites are not Sephardim, but nevertheless, I assume that they're following the Sephardi tradition in this, and I'll check it out because I'm Ashkenazi myself, but I believe that Sephardim could be lenient on this. It's an Ashkenazi thing. Like we said, it resembles grinding. It's not actually grinding. So that could be one answer. Or alternatively, they cut it up, using a knife instead of using a grater or whatever it is. Okay. I'm going to hand over to Rebbetzin Dav. Rebbetzin Dav, are you with us?
I am. Just give me 1 second. Sorry, I always get these things when people got lost on their Zoom. I'm done.
Okay.
Okay, now
so we're delighted to have with us Rebbetzin Dav, hot off the heels of a global challah make, is going to share with us her thoughts about challah and about hamotzi, washing hands and hamotzi.
Okay, so firstly, thank you. And I have to, because my computer is on that side, with somebody else speaking to a group of 60 ladies, and I am here, I'm on my phone. So I have slid across and I'm saying hello to everybody, but I can't see you all in front of me. But I want to just say thank you. And to tell you the truth, I was thinking, you know, when Rabbi Birnbaum said, I want this or that, so how can I do anything else but challah? I mean, washing hands, hamaitzi, and challah. I mean, what was I even thinking? And I even just looked down, and because my dough just came out, in order for being able at the end of our share every Thursday night, we separate challah in the merit of everybody. Here we are. So I cannot believe that we're Thursday night again, but nevertheless, Thursday night is the time that we start preparing for Shabbos, which is, some people have already finished and prepared, and but it is something Erev Shabbat that we actually do all our preparations. I did send out today a very easy, quick and easy food clip. So if you haven't had it yet, it will be coming your way, or we'll maybe send it out to the group straight after. So it comes Friday night, and this is a very exciting time, because the most beautiful time after lighting Shabbos candles, which you did last week with Rebitz and Silkin, is really preparing for our meal. The meal which we have worked hard for and prepared. And even though we're starting tomorrow, I think, what time is Shabbos candle lighting, Rabbi? I haven't checked, but it must be about 22 or something, 22:04.
I'll check. I'll check.
Something like that, about 22:04. So it's really the middle of the afternoon, but somehow when Shabbos arrives, whenever it arrives, you feel that you are ready for Shabbos or ready for Shabbat. So you've lit in your candles. The husbands are thank you, 3:50. Okay, so 3:50, but Ezra Hashem tomorrow. Thank you, Sharon. Oh my gosh.
Sharon did actual newsletter.
Is that in your shul newsletter? Good. Okay, well, obviously I didn't check it before we got here. But really what I want to just talk through are some of the ideas and things that happened to us in our actual in our actual preparation for our meal. And now we've made Kiddush already. And the next stage comes to washing the hands. So it's an interesting thing. I asked Rabbi Birnbaum to please prepare a bowl, water, and the keli, the container for washing our hands. So what happens? It's time to wash. And some people are familiar with this, and some people have never seen this before. Okay, and we have to remind ourselves that we ourselves might have been in situations where we had not seen this. Growing up, we lit candles, made Kiddush and hamaitzi, but I don't remember anybody getting up to wash. We washed whenever we did, but how did you wash? You saw people sort of take a cup, throw something over their hands, do this, whatever. You know, one of the funny things that happened when I was actually in Cheder, my teacher told me about when we learned about washing our hands on Sunday mornings. And the little boy comes home from his Cheder class and says to his parents, I want to start washing my hands when we make hamaitzi in South Africa, it was the kitka, okay, the challah. And I want to wash my hands, but I need to get, please, I need one of these cups that has 2 handles on it. And also, Mom, if you don't mind, to get me a ring. So the mother says, a ring? What do you need a ring for? He says, well, when you wash your hands, you have to take your ring off your finger, put it in your mouth, and hold it in order to wash, okay? So one of the things is we actually shouldn't have something in our mouths, okay, in order to wash, so that we can say the blessing correctly. But it was very cute because the boy watched his teacher. She took off her ring, stuck it in her mouth, and he figured that he needed the ring as well. So girls, any of the women are here, you're welcome to ask your husbands for an extra ring. And you know what, husbands, you want your wives to really wash with you properly and do it properly, you know, I can get you a good deal. Don't worry, we'll speak to Matt about this. Okay, so we're going to prepare now for washing our hands. One of the things that we do, it's an interesting thing. One can take off their jewelry. I personally do not remove my rings anymore. One of the things that I did many years ago, in fact, 21 years ago, just under, because our son was 6 months old, went to visit my grandmother to Natsa Yotzat. We should learn in the schus of from Achaya Bas Batzalel. And I went to visit, and I took my rings off to wash on a pitta when we were making shawarma. The only thing was that we're out at somewhere at the waterfront. I left my rings on the side, walked out of the bathroom, came back, and they were gone. So there's a halacha that says if you knead your dough with your rings on, and you consider that's part of you, one does not have to remove their ring in order to wash for natilas yadayim, for washing of your hands prior to eating our meal. The other thing is we're going to be going, and if you've got visitors that haven't learned yet and don't know the process of washing, so my lovely friend told me that the first time she was, I don't know how many of you, well, we don't have to say who it was, even though she doesn't mind, she tells the story happily herself. She was at a table at somebody's house with 20 people. Obviously, it was not COVID time, but with 20 people, we are going back nearly 20 years. And everybody got up to wash, but nobody said anything to her. It was her first Friday night ever really meal in a family that kept Shabbat or did anything. Everybody goes. She happens to be one of the first ones. She watches what somebody's doing, kind of pretends to do what she thinks she's doing, and she goes and sits at the table. And as people coming to say, she says, "Hi, my name is," and I do. So what did you say you do? And everybody's like, So if you do have anybody there and you've got guests at your table, please just tell them what you're going to do. We used to have many, many, many guests come to our home who were not accustomed to it. And the easiest way to do it was we would say, have you ever washed your hands? Do you know how? And you know what? Here, I tell the kids, all the kids would have opportunities to teach everybody, because nobody minds being taught by a child how to wash their hands. We don't always wash our hands properly. So Rabbi Birnbaum, would you like to give us a quick how-to when we wash our hands? Okay, just watch carefully, because there are two things that happen. Firstly, we fill the water. Okay, and
there. Yep.
the water. Then we're going to actually hold it in our right hand. Okay, and pour over the left. Okay, now one of the things to watch is how much of the hand, and both the outside and the inside of the hand, need to be completely covered. Okay, and then we pass the keli, pass the jug to the other hand, and then we do the same process. And there must be a large amount of water that covers both the inside and the outside, and we repeat that again.
Twice on each hand.
Once on each hand. Some people will do it twice. And I have heard that the Vilna Gaon did 3 times. I was checking it in my little book over here. He did 3 times. With lots of
you missed out the ring. Not impressed.
What?
The ring. He didn't use the ring.
I keep mine on. I keep mine on when I make the challah. Every week when I make challah, I keep it on.
Yeah, the truth is that he doesn't wear the ring to start with, so he doesn't have to worry about taking it off. When he gets his diamond ring, maybe we'll worry about it then. When we make our bracha, make the bracha, we're teaching, it's for ourselves. And there's nothing more beautiful than even when we wake up in the morning and we make a bracha on our hands. We're taking these gifts from Hashem. And when you look at your hands and say, Al natilas yadayim, on these hands, the hands that Hashem has gifted me with in order to do everything that I do. And this also helps me with the place of actually doing my hands. Can you just give me 1 second? I think we're finished.
Rebbetzin Dav has gone to take care of hundreds of people. Can we hear? Wait, we couldn't hear you at the end. Rebbetzin Dav, we can't hear you.
Rebbetzin Dav, is something blocking your speaker? Is something blocking your speaker? We can't hear.
Now?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So we've washed our hands. We make the bracha on the natilas yadayim. What is also very, very, very important is that we dry our hands very well. There should be absolutely no water left on your hands. And in fact, it's better sometimes not to actually wet the hands if you're not going to dry your hands before you touch the bread, okay? Because the water on our hands passes over a type of an impurity. So sometimes you will actually see, if a person is in the place, the only thing they've got to eat is their bread sandwich. They can actually, and there's no water for them to wash. As long as it is properly, totally covered, we can hold the bread and not touch it with the water. We now come to our Shabbos table and everybody's sitting and waiting. And the moment We don't even talk. We don't speak, and we tell everybody we don't talk, because when we wash Natilat Yadayim, we're making it as preparation for eating this beautiful, beautiful bread that we're going to have, which is called our challah. Okay, so our challah, we have, how many challah do we have? Whoops, how many challah do we have? I'm so sorry, but this, I'm just going to tell Sippy to close it for me.
Can I just add in, actually, it's a really good opportunity to add in. There's a very common misconception, which is that if people speak after they've washed their hands, that they have to wash again. Okay, it's not true. We don't have to wash again.
You know, you're just going to have to give me 1 second because somebody keeps calling in. I'm going to change to my other computer.
That's fine. So the misconception is, a common misconception is that if someone speaks, especially one of the kids, you know, then they're sent back, go wash again, do it again. You don't have to wash your hands again. You don't have to wash your hands again. The other thing is, in terms of parenting as well, just give your kids a nice warm smile, pat on the back, make sure they're happy. That's much more, that's the most important thing, that they enjoy being at your Shabbat table. And we try not to speak, but if someone speaks, then they don't need to wash their hands again.
Yeah, we actually have a new custom. This is like the ring custom in our house, because the kids, when they want to wash their hands, so we put a little step stool by the sink. They should be able to reach it. One of our guests, obviously pre-COVID, decided it would be funny that he should also go up the step stool to wash his hands, which is quite tricky, let me tell you. So my kids insist every week that I go up the step stool to wash their hands, and I'm scared to tell them what happened tonight because they'll probably make me put the ring in my mouth as well now. So I'll have to be careful.
Very cute. It's in Dab, just if you wait, I'm going to unmute you.
Okay, I'm back with you. We finished the share, so we're okay. We finished early, so they're early. So what are we coming to now? We're coming to what we call the 2 loaves. Why do we have our 2 loaves of bread? We have our 2 loaves of bread because at the beginning of every Shabbos meal, we want to remind ourselves of the double portion that we actually were given in the time of in the desert, and our double portion that we kept, which is a beautiful thing. Now you've got your challah. It's on the board. We cover the challah, so there are different reasons that we cover our challah with a beautiful Shabbat cloth. One, to show us that it's different from the rest of the week, and the other, we're told that we should cover our challah because we're going to be first making the bracha over the Kiddush of the wine, and not to cause our challah embarrassment that we first participate in wine before the challah. So it's a strange thing. Why would the challah be embarrassed? How can the challah be embarrassed? What we have to learn are the sensitivities of everybody and every single person, and remind ourselves, and especially on Shabbos, to be so careful about how we speak and what we think, and how we're going to make the Shabbos into something which is very, very special. So we cover those loaves. And now we're going to make this beautiful bracha. The way we make our bracha is we make it loud and clear, reminding ourselves of what it is that we are here for, that we are bringing these beautiful loaves at our Shabbos, and we make just going to share 2 quick things with you because I know that our time is short, but really we have an idea that says, and now we've lost it, the bracha of the challah. Okay, we clearly enunciate the words so that we should pause between the words lechem and min, so that we never complete those words and run them into each other. Okay, and what we see that the amount of words, then we're going to take the next thing. What do? We're going to dip before we're going to cut the challah. Okay, we hold the challahs together, one on top of the other. We separate them off, and then we're going to slice one of the challahs and we dip it into the salt. Why do we dip it into the salt? We dip it into the salt because our table is really like the mizbeach, like the holy temple, the mizbeach in the temple. And we make this table like that. So we take our bread, we dip it into the salt, and we eat. The person who makes the blessing of Haraitzi must eat first for himself, and swallow before he speaks. And then the first person that the man should give the next piece of challah to is his wife. And if she's made the challahs, you tell her how yummy and delicious and scrummy the challahs are. And if you haven't learned properly, you go and you watch Rabbi Grunfeld, okay? Rabbi Grunfeld, he teaches everybody how to thank his wife and how to do this, because it's a beautiful time, again, to elevate our actual Shabbos table and to make sure that we make it there. Okay, there's a small custom that before we cut, we make a little mark with the knife that we cut into the challah. And what we do is why? Because on Shabbos, we don't cut it properly, okay? We recite the bracha and we make a mark so that this is where we know that we're going to start the cutting of the actual challah. I'm not going to be able to take much more time because I know that you are there carefully. One of the things I know that we don't have much time, but one of the things that I really just want to bring out and put here with our challah. The women who are making their challah before have separated the dough. The dough that they've taken away is the dough that we're going to have for the kohanim, that we're going to serve the kohanim in the time of the Beit HaMikdash. The things that we do now today, we're reminding ourselves that everything that we do, we're going to be doing in the time when the Beit HaMikdash is going to be rebuilt. Right now, we're able to keep our Shabbos. Right now, we've got to thank Hashem for the beauty of taking us out of this crazy world, of the busyness, and we focus on every aspect of our Shabbos that elevates it for us. And we're nothing less than actually preparing and letting the children be involved in the preparation of setting our Shabbos table, of putting our challahs, of making their own challah with you, having their special challah underneath the challah cloth. And each one has their special job that they do. Then they sit and they wait, and the excitement of them getting their own challah in special way of making this for their beautiful Shabbos, the more we include them, the more we make them do them, the more we can look at this and say, this is our holy Shabbos, our beautiful Shabbos table. I hope that you can take a little bit of that, and we will one day get further to do the beautiful ideas in Birkat HaMazon and sharing out the different ideas of the different shapes of challahs, but I don't have time for that. So I'm going to let Rabbi Birnbaum or Rabbi Litwin carry on, and hopefully we will greet and meet again very, very soon.
Amen. Beautiful. Thank you so much. I can smell your challah from here. I can smell it over Zoom. It's beautiful. And just actually the thought, ending off with the Beit HaMikdash. The Beit HaMikdash is about creating a sanctuary in space. And when we make a Shabbat in our homes, we're creating a sanctuary in time. So well done, everyone. Beautiful to have you all here together. Make an amazing Shabbat at home. Take some things we've learned, put them into practice. The best way to learn, I always tell people this, is to try doing it by yourself, okay? Even better than that is when you make the mistakes and then you phone up Rabbi Birnbaum, Rabbi Litwin after Shabbat. Oh, I did this, I got into a mess. Best way to learn, right? Best way to learn, okay? Rabbi Litwin, thank you very much.
Thank you, Rabbi Birnbaum, for putting this on. I think it's been amazing. It's been a lot of fun.
Brilliant. Wishing everyone a very good Shabbos. We will be back next week with the third and final session in this series, where I will be joined by Rabbi Gary Bazak. I don't think he knows yet, but I'll be joined by Rabbi Gary Bazak. So we're going to be having a lot of fun. He's always a lot of fun. And we're going to be finishing off different things that apply around the house. We're going to be moving outside the kitchen to the other rooms in the house. And we're also going to be covering Kiddush and also Havdalah, hopefully, as well. Take care, everyone. Have a great Shabbos.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you.